Welcome back to the Crypto Trends Podcast, where we cover all things cryptocurrency, blockchain, Web 3.0, and AI. I'm Robert Croak, and I'm joined by my co-host, Armando Pantoja. Both of us and our amazing team are excited to bring you the best information, guidance, and strategies each and every Wednesday. So remember to always follow along and take notes and take action. So let's get into talking point number one. We've got a lot to cover this week. We're going to talk about XLM, XRP, SEI's rise, Gensler's exit, and all of the market movements. So let's get started talking about XRP. It has surged over 217% after Trump's win and SEC Chair Gensler's resignation announcement. And I think this really just is fueled by hopes for a more crypto-friendly regulatory environment. Stellar Lumens, XLM, is also on the move as well. And really, I want to point out in today's episode for people to understand, because so many people are DMing me saying, what's going on with XLM? And is it XLM versus XRP? I don't think so, because XRP and XLM both work within the ISO 22 standard, but they serve two totally different functions. If you look at XRP, this is created and really works well to help make less friction in cross-border payments and make it faster and more affordable. And XLM, also in ISO 22, is just better overall for financial services, for small businesses and individuals. And I just think that people right now are really sleeping on XLM a little bit too much for me. But talk about to our listeners where you feel it's at with XRP, and then I can speak a little bit more on XLM.
Yeah, so oftentimes in cryptocurrency, the sports betting type of mentality comes over. Is people always say, this is against this and this is against that. If you go for this crypto, you can't go for this crypto because this is against that other crypto. This is not sports betting. This isn't cheering on your favorite team. This is investing, right? You can see two different coins who are similar, and you can invest in both. You don't have to, it's not one or the other. And a lot of people try to pit the two against each other. Now, the reason why they do this is because both of those technologies are very similar. They came from the same code base, almost the same set of people created both. So people say one or the other has to survive, but that's not true, because one is focused on heavy lifting for big banks, that's XRP, while XLM focuses more on grassroots inclusion. Together, they actually complement each other. So it's not one or the other, it's actually both. And if we want this connected financial world that we eventually hope that we can get to, there's room for a lot of players, even if they're similar. MasterCard and Visa are very similar, similar technologies, very similar payment systems, very similar way. But people we use both have a position in the financial world of today. So in the future, different cryptocurrencies, different technologies will all have a place in that market.
And I think it's important, and I'm glad you brought it up, for everyone to understand that the ISO 2022 standard is just really all about how do we make seamless banking throughout the country and making it a global economy. And both of these are key players in that strategy, just like HBAR is in some of the others. So I think it's important for everyone to understand that it is not one versus the other. I hold both. I'm dollar cost averaging XRP and XLM every week right now. And I just think it's important for everyone to understand that distinction. So let's get into talking point number two, and that is the small pullbacks that we're seeing in Bitcoin. You know, my inbox, and I'm sure your inbox and DMs have been filled with people saying, what do we do? What do we do when the markets pull back on these days? And I want everyone to understand that right now the markets are frothy. There's a lot of greed happening, but there are also a lot of retail investors that are looking for exit points. And for me, the two key price points are $100,000 Bitcoin and $2 XRP. Because remember, a lot of people hold XRP from the last bull run because it's been down for so long because of the court case. And so I think we're going to see some further volatility in the markets, especially in Bitcoin and XRP at that $100,000 Bitcoin price, but also the $2 price of XRP, because of the fact that these are key points where people are going to take profits. And so let's talk about that for a few minutes, because we're seeing this up and down in the market, and people are always so knee-jerk reaction based when they're not sure what to do. And we're long-term investors. So let's talk about what this little volatility means in the market, if anything, and what your thoughts are on these key indicators major points for people to take profits.
Yeah, so a lot of people was expecting Bitcoin to burst through 100,000. And I've said it for a while, and I know you've said it, is that 100,000 is a huge psychological barrier. And what I mean by that is that when people trade any stocks, crypto, whatever, whenever we get to big round numbers, there's a lot of pushback because people put in sell orders at that amount because they feel like it's not going to be able to get over that. Humans thinking base 10, which means that every 10,000, 20,000, every time we get to a round number that's based in 10, we normally think that's as high as something can go. So those create psychological barriers. We had one at 90, we had one at 100,000. So 100,000 is probably the biggest psychological barrier that Bitcoin has ever had. So it's going to take a lot of momentum, a lot of volume to push through that 100,000. But once we get to the other side, it's going to go quickly to 120. I expected it to bounce off 100 a few times. It went down to, I think, 92 this week. XRP is going to have the same problem at $2. But once it gets through these $2 for XRP and 100,000 for Bitcoin, there's pretty much a clear path going forward. It could get to 100 again, bounce back, but Thanksgiving is coming up. There's two things that can happen. Back in 2020, after Thanksgiving, there was a crash. So in this year, I think it won't be a crash. I think what's going to happen is people are going to go home over the holidays, and they're going to tell everybody, especially if they're in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, they're going to tell everybody at the Thanksgiving table how much money they made and how much money there is to make. So a lot of those people are going to go back on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and into next week and start purchasing specific cryptocurrencies. And I think that's going to be a volume that pushes Bitcoin at least back close to 100,000. It may or may not be enough to get through 100, but I think we'll get back to 100 very quickly after Thanksgiving. Now, so to be honest, the bigger picture here is that we're still bullish. And these pullbacks actually are an opportunity for people who may have been hesitant before to get back in.
Yeah, I agree. And the Thanksgiving effect is real. You pointed that out before, and we've talked about it several times. And I think it's just very simple psychological of how the world works, especially in retail investing. Everybody's coming home, back for the holidays, talking to their old friends, talking to their family. Cryptocurrency is going to be top of mind for everyone. And I think that what that does is it clears the air a little bit, because let's say you haven't seen your cousins or your uncle or whoever it is in your family since last year holidays. You might not have spoken about crypto at all, but now we're in this bull market. Everything is moving. Trump won the election, so everything is pro crypto. And I think we will see a lot of sentiment change in the coming weeks leading in through Christmas. And I do think we will see that Christmas and that Santa Claus rally to get Bitcoin over $100,000. I do believe we'll see it before the end of the year. Could be tomorrow, who knows? But at the end of the day, I think it is a great time because people are going to be down, they're going to be with their families, and that will help dispel a lot of these age-old myths around crypto being a scam. So I think we will definitely see that holiday boost, and it couldn't come at a better time because now we're seeing Bitcoin creep back up, everything is stabilized, and I think it's going to be a really good holiday season for us leading into 2025.
Yeah, and back to what your original point is that markets don't go straight up. They go up. There's impulses and corrections. There's an impulse, then there has to be a correction in order for the market to cool down. And a lot of times these big moves happen after the pause. Now, if we go back to late 2020, Bitcoin was at about, it stalled at around 19,008, and it kept hitting that amount. It couldn't get past 20,000.
I remember, yeah.
And people said, oh, it's over, because remember, 20,000 was the high of the previous cycle. So people said, this is it, it's not going to get over that, and people started selling. It's the same message I'm getting today as I got back then. Oh, this is it, it's all-time high, so should I sell? And then Bitcoin went on to push past that, and within 8 months, it was at 68,000. Now, again, the biggest moves happen after the pause. And once we get to, and that was a big psychological barrier back then, because previously to that, 20,000 was the highest Bitcoin has ever been. So people felt like it couldn't go past that, so people started, it was a big sell wall there. Once we got through that sell wall, we went up another 300%. Something similar is going to happen here with Bitcoin. Once we get through this $100,000 psychological barrier, the path is clear, and we could see another 200-300% after that.
And one of the most important takeaways from this point, and then we can move on, I think, is so many of our followers and listeners, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or here on the podcast, they're new to this. This is their first bull cycle. So for them, they're seeing these great price increases and they think we're already fully into the bull run. And they think this is it. Oh my God, this is the most money I've ever made on an investment. And so they're so excited and so ready to take profits way too early, but I think it's good that we've been covering it a lot in recent podcast episodes about taking profits and how to do that, because at the end of the day, you don't want to just live through a complete bull cycle and never take profits or have out strategies, because then at the end of the day, you're wasting all of that upside. And so I think it's important for everyone to understand that. I do believe we're very bullish. I think we're very early on in this bull cycle and we have a long run to go. So just do your homework and understand your individual investment thesis, when to take profits based on what you should have predetermined as your outcome that you want for these investments. So I think that's very important. So the next topic I'd like to cover that I think is incredibly bullish for us in cryptocurrency and the U.S. market is the resignation of Gary Gensler. I think this is huge for future development of the crypto space. We were really on the verge, because of all of the pressure from Gary Gensler and the SEC, of seeing a ton of all of this development and disruption in the crypto markets leaving the U.S. because so many people were just afraid of what Gary Gensler would do next. So I think it's great that we will see on Inauguration Day, Gary Gensler steps down, but we can already see the moves in the market, because that was a big hurdle, not just for the retail investor, but for the big banks and the governments and everybody else getting involved, because they want to see a solid foundation in cryptocurrency and not see all of these lawsuits flying and the SEC going after all these companies. So the companies that are in the U.S. now will know that they have a pro-crypto government in front of them and that they can finally get the framework that they need to operate correctly and know that they can keep building and keep innovating without trouble from the government. So I think that's really important. And one of the biggest bull things that have happened is the announcement of Gary Gensler stepping down, because we weren't sure how quickly this would happen. I know Trump announced publicly that he was going to fire Gary Gensler on day one, but unfortunately that's just not something he can do. He doesn't have the power to fire him. So to have this happen so quickly, I think is one of the most bullish sentiment statements and things to happen for us in cryptocurrency.
Now, we said this in a previous episode, is that hopefully Gary Gensler would have saw the writing on the wall. He would have gotten incredible pressure from the Trump administration. When Trump likes to pressure through tweets, through social media, he would have got his fan base to go after him.
Oh, yeah.
He would have restricted hiring. He would have restricted funding. He has the Senate and the House going into this new administration. So Gary was smart and got out. But one thing that really stalled the crypto industry was his constant regulation, attempting regulation. And one thing that people don't realize, he never truly defined if crypto was a security.
Yep.
Maybe it is, maybe not. He did this for years.
Yep.
Like, he would never give guidelines on what was a crypto and what wasn't.
Yep.
So cryptos would start and wouldn't know if they were security, if they had to file anything or not. Then he would do an action against them. I mean, this was it caused complete chaos, and it stalled the crypto industry, not just in the U.S., but worldwide, because the U.S. is a leader.
Yep.
So if the leader is doing all of these things, all the other countries, they wait to see what the leader is going to do. So it really hurt cryptocurrency, and I think that all that stalled innovation that happened over the last 4 years is now going to be like a spring. It's been compressed, and that's what we're seeing with XRP is going to be released. Yeah. And not just in XRP specifically, even though XRP took the brunt of all of that punishment, we're going to see that through the entire crypto industry. So I'm glad this is happening. We've finally got a clear path. We're going to have clear guidelines for digital assets, and it's a potential game changer for this space.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter to us who won the presidency, and like Trump or not, you can already see what you're stating happening around the world because we have clarity now in the U.S. Look at China. Just in the last 24 hours has announced it is now legal to own Bitcoin and to own cryptocurrency. This is huge because that's such a massive market, and all of a sudden they just did a 180-degree turn, and it is now being announced to be legal to own Bitcoin. So as you see more and more adoption around cryptocurrency and the U.S. remaining as a powerhouse of innovation in cryptocurrency, I think it is one of the most bullish parts of everything we're doing right now. So let's get into our next talking point. Everyone wants to know, is altcoin season here? Are we going to have an altcoin season? And are we primed for this bull run? So let's dive into Ethereum's current performance, maybe talk about if it's lagging behind Bitcoin, why is that? And what do you think is happening in altcoin season? Because right now I feel this time is different. And I know people don't want to hear that, but I think it is different this time. I think altcoin season is going to be massive. We're already seeing it in some sectors of the market. And I just think that we're going to see so much upside potential because not as only is it just hype this time around in cryptocurrency, but there's actual implementation of these cryptocurrencies. Every single day, we see a Fortune 500 company around the country announcing that they're integrating cryptocurrency into XYZ part of their business. And I think it's very important how that ushers along crypto in general, but also altcoin season. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I love your take on that, Robert. And I want to talk a little bit about Ethereum because a lot of people, I've been talking about Ethereum a lot, you have too, but I think Ethereum is going to be the #1 crypto eventually. And a lot of people are saying, Armando, what's happening with Ethereum? I thought you said this and that. It's because Bitcoin is always the market leader. It always has. It pushes the bull run. In Bitcoin, as we see, when a bull run starts, Bitcoin dominance go up. I think we're right under 60 right now. 60% of all money that's in cryptocurrency is in Bitcoin. And then once that starts to happen, the money starts to flow out of Bitcoin and into these altcoins. We've talked about that on previous episodes. So it's always a delay. Ethereum is an altcoin. It's going to be a delay. Ethereum goes up in altcoin season, which always is after the Bitcoin initial rises. And you got to remember this. I actually looked it up. And I want to say what a sustained all-time high is because we actually had a high in Bitcoin back earlier this year, but it wasn't sustained. It was only a couple of days. So we had the first sustained Bitcoin high we ever had was this month when we passed Bitcoin highs right before the election.
Yep.
So right before the election, we actually had a sustained Bitcoin high, and that's what I consider the high. So Ethereum, normally 60 days after that sustained high, Ethereum starts to go up. That will put us at about end of December before Ethereum actually starts to go up. And that would actually put us at a good timeline because Bitcoin will be passing 100,000. New people will be coming in after the holidays. We got the January effect that happens in stocks where people who sold or locked in losses or whatever start putting their money back into the market. So I could see Ethereum starting to go up into December, early January. And that's what's happening right now. So again, we expect Ethereum to start reaching its all-time high sometime middle of next year.
So that's fascinating, and it really illustrates that this lag is not necessarily a sign of weakness for Ethereum, and that it's just something that's a recurring pattern that has happened over time, because so many people just expect these cryptos to go up and to the right over and over again, and they don't expect to see drawdowns and price decreases or any volatility, and that's just not the way the market works. And like we discussed earlier, these price all-time highs that we hit, and when we see these next levels, a lot of times people are taking profits from older coins and cryptos that they've held forever. So don't look at the short-term market cycles, look at the long-term, because it's just a much better way for you to not try to time the market, which is so important, especially in cryptocurrency. Now, shifting gears to the broader altcoin market, we're observing signs of an emerging altcoin season where certain altcoins are gaining momentum, potentially outperforming Bitcoin. That doesn't mean we want you to get away from Bitcoin. It just means that there are going to be others that are going to outperform Bitcoin in this coming altcoin season. It doesn't mean we're telling you to sell your Bitcoin for these altcoins. We look at Bitcoin as the granddaddy of all and the one that is the most certain and the most stable stablecoin long-term that we're going to see great growth in, but the altcoin season is important too. So talk about some of your favorites, talk about some of the ones that we like the most, and share that with the audience.
So altcoin season refers to the time after the Bitcoin initial rise where altcoins actually do better percentage-wise.
Yep.
Now, the reason why this happens is because new investors come in, they're looking for new opportunities. And I want to just put a warning out, because a lot of times during altcoin season, people start saying, all of these coins are going up. Why invest in Bitcoin? Why invest in Ethereum? Why invest in XRP? It's because of risk.
Yep.
Risk is very important. Altcoins, and somebody told me one time, they were like, somebody put up a statistic online, and we've both been very successful in choosing which cryptos would do well, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and we're up like, what, hundreds of percents?
Yeah.
And I saw a guy put
thousands of
percents over the last few years. And a guy put up and said, if you would have invested in meme coins in January, you'd be up 3,000%.
Right.
And I said, no, you're wrong. You'd be down 99%. He said, what do you mean? Here's a list of meme coins. I said, yeah, what you did is you went historically. You picked out the meme coins that done well, and you said these are the ones. No, if you would have put your money in all the meme coins, you'd be down 99% of your money because you would have lost money. Going back in history and picking these winners out and then putting them into the present, saying this is what you could have. No, that's not true, because you're in a sea of meme coins, a sea of altcoins. You don't know which ones are going to do well.
Yeah.
Until after the fact.
It's just like in stocks right now, not to cut you off. So many people have asked me about NVIDIA. You've been talking about NVIDIA since 2022. Why didn't you just put all your money in NVIDIA? Because you have to have some risk tolerance and you have to have diversity. It's the same thing in cryptocurrency. It's easy for someone after the fact to pick the top 5 meme coins and say, this is how much you'd be up. Why didn't you do that? But the difference is the information that we provide is never going to put you in harm's way, because we're always giving you diversified looks at what we're buying and what we believe are the best strategies to build wealth. Some of these people that put that information out, they're just gambling. Could you be right? If you had $10,000 today and you risked it all on one meme coin and you were right, oh my God, you'd be a millionaire probably in a few months. But if you're wrong, you're back to zero. And I'd rather see people have really strong, steady growth over time than risk it all gambling, because if you're going to do that, you might as well go to Vegas.
Yeah, I had a friend that back in 2017, he said he had $30,000, and he said, I'm just going to put into every new ICO, which was the meme coin of its time. Well, how can I lose? And I was like, yeah, but you're going to lose because some of them, not going to work out. And it's very difficult. I know it looks like it, and when you look in the past that they all go up, but they don't all go up.
Right.
He ended up losing all his money. But I want to talk about some of these coins that do have potential. We're seeing Solana, we're seeing Cardano, we're seeing Avalanche. We've seen a lot of these coins starting to gain momentum. That actually is a good indicator that we're leading into altcoin season. ADA's been doing very well recently, and we've seen Solana get a lot of attention recently because people see it as an alternative to Ethereum. It's lower cost and higher speed. There's a lot of attractive DeFi projects out there that could do extraordinarily well.
Yeah, I agree. Some of our call outs from earlier in the year are really pumping as well, and that's iSui, also Ondo Finance, which I think is a good one. Pendle's doing really well, and we're just seeing a lot of movement in these projects, and that's why we do the work. This bull market really illustrates why we do the work, why we dollar cost average over time, because then you've been in the market and you're not trying to time the market, and you've been in at all these different price points, and now we're seeing the fruits of our labor. And so it's really interesting moving forward is that it's not just the major players, but we're also seeing these lesser known projects like Polygon Matic, Chainlink, and some of these other smart contract let's do this over. Chainlink and some of these other projects that aren't at the top of mind for everyone really doing well. I had some call outs in the AI space that have really crushed it recently, also decentralized science. So there's more than just Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and some of the big boys, but it's important to understand you don't also want to be all in on the meme coins and some of these small cap coins, because there is a lot less liquidity and a lot more volatility. volatility. So it's very important for everyone to understand. So yeah, overall, I think this was a great episode, getting everyone caught up to date. New York was great for us. Armando, thanks for having me at the speaking engagement. It was awesome. And thank you for so many of you that attended. We had people from all over the world join us in New York this week. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for listening and following along. You can find us on Instagram at Crypto Trends Podcast and on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. And we are so excited for the rest of 2024 and 2025, sharing all of our crypto, Web 3.0, AI insights with all of you. And if you love the podcast, please share with a friend, give us that 5-star review, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much.